Welcome students. Welcome to the lecture number 11 of chapter Computer Networks. So in today's lecture we are going to talk about the protocols. So the topic for the today is protocols. What is basically a protocol? Protocol is basically the set of rules and regulation for performing a particular task. Okay. So protocol means a set of rules and regulation for performing a particular task, right? So obviously when we send the data from one system to the another system, okay, or from one network to the another network, so there are some rules and regulation that must be followed to perform the communication of the to perform communication between two systems. Okay, so in information technology, okay, a protocol is basically a special set of rules that two or more machines on the network follows to communicate with each other. Okay, so according to the statement given here, the protocol is basically a set of rules and regulation. Okay, and these rules and regulation must be obeyed by machines on a network. Okay, these rules and regulation must be obeyed by the machines on a network, and they follow these rules to perform communication with each other, right? So basically protocols are the standards that allow computer to communicate. Okay, so protocol is basically a standard, right, that allows computers to communicate, because protocols define those set of rules and regulation that must be followed if you want to perform communication between two systems. The next thing, a protocols define how computer identify one another on a network, the form that the data should take in transit, and how this information is processed once it reaches its final destination. So what kind of information is provided by the protocols? Okay, so basically, as I told you, that protocol is a set of rules and regulation, but what are those rules? So protocol defines some rules that how to identify a computer on a network. Okay, so the protocol provides us a rule that how can you identify a particular computer in a network when you want to send the data to a specific computer. Okay, so the first thing that is defined or described by the protocol is that how you can identify a computer in a network. Okay, so once you identify the computer in a network, that okay, this is the computer to whom I want to send the data, then this protocol also describe that the form that the data should take in transit. So the next thing is that if you want to send the data, then the data must be changed in what format. Okay, so it also tells you that you have to change your data in this format if you want to send your data. Okay, so according to those rules we have to convert our data into that form. As you know, in packet switching, the message is divided into parts, and each part is added with destination address, source address, and sequence number, and a packet is formed. Okay, so this is the rule now, that okay, if you want to send some data, then you have to first divide the data into parts, and then you have to add such informations to create the packet. So this is a rule. Okay, and how this information is processed once it reaches its final destination. So it also defines the rules that when the information, or we can say when the packets reaches to the destination, then how these packets will be processed to obtain the original data. Okay, so these rules and regulations are basically the protocols, right? So we have following protocols with us. One is the network protocol, then one is email protocol, remote access protocol, and next one is the chat and VoIP protocol. Okay, so these are the 4 types of protocols that we are going to study. So let's understand each one by one. the first one is the network protocol. Under network protocol, we are going to study these four kinds of protocol. The first one is the TCP/IP, then FTP, then HTTP, and then PPP. The next category is email protocol, and under email protocol we are going to learn about these two protocols, that is, one is the SMTP and other one is the POP3. And in the remote access protocol we are going to learn about a telnet, and then we have to study about the chat and VoIP protocol. Okay, so these are the subcategories of the different protocols that we are going to learn today, right? So let's begin with the first protocol, that is a network protocol. Okay, so under network protocol we have the first category is TCP/IP. The full form of the TCP/IP is basically the transmission control protocol / internet protocol. Okay, so now I'm going to explain you that what is the basic functionality of the TCP protocol and what is the basic functionality of this IP, right? So TCP/IP are the two protocols. Okay, so TCP are the two protocols that are used together, and together they form the backbone protocol of the internet, right? When you are set up with direct access to the internet, your computer is provided with a copy of the TCP/IP program. Okay, so once the internet connection is set in your computer, okay, so once the internet connection is set up in your computer, then the TCP/IP program is copied in your system. Okay, so because when you want to send data to the internet, then obviously this TCP/IP protocol has to be used. Okay, so over here it is written that TCP/IP are the two protocols that are used together. So these are two different protocols, but we have to use these two together, right? Now let's see that TCP has two major components, that is TCP and IP. Obviously TCP/IP protocol has two components. First one is the transmission control protocol and the second one is the internet protocol, right? So let us see that what is the basic purpose of this transmission control protocol, right? So the transmission control protocol breaks the data into packets that the network can handle efficiently. So as I told you that when we want to send the data, the data is divided into parts, and with each part we attach source address, destination address, sequence number and other informations to form a packet. Okay, so who is going to do that? So how we are going to do that, those rules are specified in the TCP. Okay, so the transmission control protocol basically breaks the data into the packets, right? It manages the assembling of the message or file into smaller packet that are transmitted over the internet. Okay, so the first task is of the TCP is to break the message into packets. Okay, all right, and when this is the part of the TCP protocol which is present at the source end. Okay, at the source end the TCP has to divide the message into packets. Okay, this is the function of the TCP at the source point. But when these packets reaches to the destination point, then what will happen? At the destination point there is also TCP protocol over there. Now at the destination point, this TCP protocol will verifies, okay, yes, it verifies that all the packets arrive at the destination computer, and once all the packet has arrived, then it reassembles them to proper order to obtain the message. Okay, so at the destination end there is a TCP, and the purpose of that TCP is to basically verify whether all packets are arrived at the destination or not. Okay, and when it confirm and assure that all the packets are arrived, then it will reassemble those packets to obtain the original message, right? So data can be lost in the intermediate network. Okay, So obviously there may be a possibility that your data get lost during the intermediate network. So the TCP adds support to detect errors or lost data and trigger retransmission until the data is correctly and completely received. Okay, so there may be a chance, as I told you, that at the source point the TCP protocol divides the message into packets, right? Now this is the work done by the TCP protocol of the source system. Now these packet reaches to the destination computer through different paths, but suppose in between there is a packet which is lost or get corrupted or get deleted, right? So obviously that packet will not be received at the destination point because that packet is lost, right? So in case if a packet is missing, then the destination side TCP will send a signal to retransmit that packet. Okay, because once all the packet reaches to the destination, then only the TCP reassemble those packets to obtain the message. Okay, so this is the working, this is a duty of the TCP protocol. Okay, so TCP provides us rules and regulation to perform these two work. Now the work of the TCP protocol is explained to you. Now there is one more component, that is IP, that is Internet Protocol. So what is the work performed by that IP? So you know, at the source point the TCP protocol divides the message into packets. Okay, so now TCP prepare the packets, but these packets have to reach to the destination. So who is going to help these packets to reach to the destination, or how, or which rules and regulation these packets follow to reach to the destination? So here comes the IP, that is Internet Protocol. So the Internet Protocol handles the address part of each packet. Okay, the Internet Protocol handles the address part of each packet so that it reaches to the right destination. Okay, so basically once the packet is ready and the destination address is also available in it, then it is a duty of the IP protocol that how these packets will be will reach to the destination. Okay, it gives distinct address, IP address to each packets. As I told you that the TCP breaks the message into the packets. Okay, but in those packets source address and destination address is also included. So these information is provided by the IP protocol. Okay, each gateway computer on the network checks this address, okay, to see where to forward the message. As I told you that in our previous lecture that we have routers with us. Okay, and once the data from the source moves, so it moves from one router to another router, then another router to reach to the destination. Okay, so obviously each routers check the destination address of the packet and then checks that which path is most suitable for that, and according to that it will send the packet to the next router, right? So obviously how can he find that where we have to deliver the address? Obviously if the destination address is present in the packet, only then the router can recognize that where I have to deliver this packet. Okay, even though some packets from the same message are routed differently than other, they will be reassembled at the destination. Obviously there are multiple packets and they will reach to the destination from different path. Okay, but once they reaches to the destination from different paths, when all the packets are received, then that will be reassembled at the destination point. Okay, and the next is an IP address is a unique identifier for a node or a host connection. So, okay, so basically what is basically this IP address? All right, so this IP address is basically a unique identifier for a node or a connection. An IP address is a 32-bit binary number usually represented as a 4 decimal values. okay, and each representing 8 bits in the range of 0 to 255. Actually, IP address is what is this IP address? Let me tell you that IP address is that suppose let me give you an example that suppose there is an apartment, okay, and you know that in apartment there are many flats, okay, but in order to identify each flat uniquely, a flat number is provided to each flat, okay, that flat number 270, flat number 180, flat number 320, flat number 181. So these are the basic unique address of flats present in that apartment, okay. Similarly, when we connect a system in a network, then obviously there must be some IP address given to that computer, and that address is basically the IP address, right? So IP address is basically the address of the computer in a network, and the format of IP address is that like this 140.179.220.200. So obviously there are four numbers, that is there are four numbers, and they are separated by this decimal, 1 decimal, 2 decimal, 3 decimal. So in IP address, the format of the address is that the address consists of four numbers separated by a decimal, okay, and these numbers must be in the range of either 0 to 255. So you can see that all those four numbers which are used over here as an example, these all four numbers lies in the range of 0 to 255, okay. So now we know that the purpose of the internet protocol is basically to put the destination address, source address, these kind of information, so that the packet will reach to the destination easily, okay, because without the address the packet will not reach to the destination, right? And the next thing is the what is an IP address? IP address is basically the address given to a computer connected in a network, okay. And the format for giving the IP address is that there are four numbers, and these four numbers lies in the range of 0 to 255, and these four numbers are separated by a decimal, okay. If suppose if in your system you connected an internet, right, and you want to know that okay, once you connected your system to the internet, then it means that you become the part of the in network. Internet is also a network now, and once you connected with the internet, that it means that you are the part of that network. So obviously there must be some IP address for you also. If you want to know your IP address, then do one thing, you have to simply open the Google Chrome, and in the Google Chrome just write what is my IP address, and when you press enter, then the Google will tell you that right now you are connected with the internet, okay, and the IP address given to you is this. So you will know that okay, this is my IP address right now, okay. So the next protocol is basically the file transfer protocol, right? In most of the company, they use this FTP protocol for transferring the file from one system to another system. Obviously, if I want to send some file to a person, then I simply send through, if I have an email ID with me, then I simply open my email ID, attach the file, and then send the file to that person. But some companies don't want that, don't want that they should use some other softwares, because you know, I have an account in Gmail, okay, and I want to send a file to a person, so that I am using a third party thing, that is a Gmail, for sending my data to other person, right? Suppose if I have a very confidential data, so I can't use Gmail for that, okay. Suppose in defense they have to send some data, so they are not going to use Gmail for sending those confidential or private data. Why? Because that is a very confidential, okay. So in that case, in order to send those data, they used a special type of protocol that is called as FTP. This is called as a file transfer protocol, okay. So many companies basically also use this protocol to transfer their file from one computer to another computer, okay. In spite of using the Gmail or other email services, they will use the FTP protocol to send their file from one computer to another computer. This is the simplest and one of the oldest protocol designed for transferring files of any type from one system to another on the internet. Okay, so we can send a file from one computer to another on the internet without using the Gmail or any other email service. Okay, FTP is an application protocol that uses the internet TCP protocol. Obviously TCP protocol is always there, because if we are sending a file to another system using FTP also, then obviously it has to follow the TCP rule. My file content is divided into packets by the TCP. These packets, on each of these packets, source address and destination address and sequence number, all these things are added by the IP protocol. Then these packets move from one router to another router, and then they reaches to the destination. Okay, once they reaches to the destination TCP just recombine those packets and obtain the original file, right? So obviously TCP IP protocol is always there. So FTP is an application protocol that uses the internet TCP IP protocol. FTP is based on the client server principle. By giving the FTP command with any remote address, the file transfer can be initiated. So there is a command for transferring the file. So we will use if a company is using the FTP protocol, then it will simply write that command in the browser, and then it upload the file, then FTP interface open, and then it upload the file in that interface, and the person at the other end will get the file. Okay, so it is also written that if in any FTP interface, okay, so client identify the FTP server either by its IP address or by its host name. So obviously you have to open the FTP interface. Okay, then you will find that after opening the FTP interface, you have to find the FTP server, and for finding the FTP server, either you use the IP address of that server or the name of that server. Okay, so you have to use it, and then you can upload your file. Like, just I give you an example of WhatsApp. Okay, if you want to send a file to a particular person, so what will you do? First of all, you open the WhatsApp interface. Okay, so similarly in this case we have to open the FTP interface. After opening the WhatsApp interface, you will go to that person WhatsApp to whom you want to send the file. Similarly, after opening the FTP, you have to select the IP address of the system or the host name of the system on which is basically the FTP server. Okay, so once identifying the FTP server, the person can upload this file to this FTP server. Because suppose if a company is using 3-4 servers, okay, so obviously if the company is using more than one server, then you have to select now that in which server you want to upload your file. Okay, so it is an efficient means to send and receive files from a remote host. FTP established two connections between the host. One connection is used for data transfer and the other connection for control information. Okay, the control connection remains connected during the entire interactive FTP session, while the data connection is opened and closed for each file transfer. Okay, so obviously in case of FTP we are dealing with the two connections. One is the control connection and other one is the data connection, right? So when you want to transfer a file, then at that moment the data connection opens. After your file transfer is complete, then the data connection is closed, but the control connection remain active during the entire FTP session. Means until and unless you log out from the FTP session, then the connection control connection is closed. Okay, suppose I opened the FTP connection, then the control connection activated. When I initiated the file transfer, then the data connection will activate, and once the file transfer is over, the data connection is closed, but the control connection is remain active. Because suppose if I want to send another file, so this control connection will remain open until and unless I log off from the FTP interface. Okay, so this is the information about the FTP protocol. Then the next protocol is basically the hypertext transfer protocol, that is called as HTTP. Remember one thing, now we have seen that okay, if you want to send a file from one computer to another, so there is a FTP protocol for that. Okay, what is this HTTP protocol? When we open a web browser like Internet Explorer or Google Chrome, then what we will do, we will simply open a website in those web browser. Now what is this website? This website is basically a collection of web pages. Okay, and for creating those web pages we have to use a language that is called as HTML, right? So HTTP protocol is basically used to transfer the websites or web pages from one system to another system. Okay, so HTTP protocol is a special protocol which is used only to transfer web pages from one system to another system. Okay, so HTTP is a protocol that is used for transferring hypertext. Hypertext means this is hypertext. Hypertext means the data which consists of text, graphics, images, sound, videos, etc. So you see that in a website you can see the textual data, you can see the images, graphics, or sometimes you see the sound or video also. So basically the HTTP protocol, the purpose of this HTTP protocol is used for transferring the hypertext file between two computers. Okay, and is particularly used on the World Wide Web. World Wide Web means on the internet, right? It is also a TCP based communication protocols and provide a standard for web browser and server to communicate. Obviously in this also TCP IP protocol is used, because suppose if there is a web server who wants to send a web page to another person, so what happen, whatever he want to send a web page, so this web page is divided into packets by the TCP protocol, and in these in these packets source address and destination address is fed by the IP protocol, right? And once these packet reaches to the destination system, then the destination system TCP protocol reassemble these packets and obtain the web page that get displayed on the web browser. So hypertext is the text that is specially coded using a coding language. And what is this language? That language is called as coding language, and that language is called as hypertext markup language, that is HTML. Okay, which basically creates hyperlinks and thereby control how the World Wide Web works and how web pages are formed and displayed. So this is the basic purpose of the HTML language, that HTML language is basically used to create the web pages, right? So HTTP protocol is basically used to send the web pages from one system to another system, right? Then there is another protocol that is called point-to-point protocol. And what is the purpose of this point-to-point protocol? Suppose we have two systems with us, suppose we have two laptops, okay, and we put the network wire and we use the network wire to connect these two systems. Okay, so after using the network wire to connect the two systems, then we can transfer the data from one system to another system. So this is basically the point-to-point protocol. Okay, so the point-to-point protocol is used for communication between two computers using a serial interface, mostly a personal computer connected via phone line to a server. Okay, for example, an internet service provider may provide you with the PPP connection so that the ISP server can respond to your request, pass them to the internet, and forward your request internet response back to you. So what it's saying, suppose if you purchase an internet connection for you, okay, so your computer is get connected to your internet service provider. Okay, so whatever request you want to, or whatever web page you want to see, whenever you write the command like www.yahoo.com, so your request will move to your internet service provider. So it means that you are a direct connection with your internet service provider. So whatever request you want to send, your request will straight away go to your internet service provider. So this is the point to point net protocol. Okay, and this internet service provider will send your request to the web server like Yahoo के web server पे, and once the web page is prepared and that web page is sent to the internet service provider, then your internet service provider will send the web page back to you. Okay, so most of the internet service provider like Airtel is an internet service provider, Vodafone is an internet service provider, Tikona, and there are many more companies who are providing internet facility to the users. Okay, so once you take the facility from that, so it means your system is directly connected to the internet service provider. So when one system is directly connected to the other system, then this connection is called as the PPP, that is a point to point protocol. Okay, so these are the 4 protocols which lies under the network protocol category. The first one is basically the TCP/IP protocol, then second one is the FTP protocol, then HTTP protocol, and the last one is the point to point protocol. Then the next category is basically the email protocols. Okay, now what are these email protocols? Suppose when we talk about the emails, so we basically do one thing: we send the emails, we receive the emails. Okay, for sending and receiving those emails, some rules and regulations are used, okay, which must be followed to send the data, right? So we have some protocols for emails also. So first one is the SMTP, which we call a simple mail transfer protocol. Okay, so the SMP stands for simple mail transfer protocol, that allow transmission of emails, okay, that allow the transmission of email over the internet. Okay, so basically this protocol helps to send the emails over the internet, and most email software is designed to use SMTP for communication purpose. Email softwares like Outlook Express is an email software, Gmail. Okay, so these are the email softwares. So they basically use SMTP for communication purpose when sending emails. Okay, it only works for outgoing message. So when we send a particular email, so that email is sent by the rules and regulations of the SMTP, that is simple mail transfer protocol. Okay, so the rules and regulation defined by the SMTP is followed to send the data through email. Okay, now the next one is POP3, that is post office protocol version. Okay, now the POP3 or the post office protocol version is a third version of the widespread method of receiving emails. Okay, so as you see, that SMTP is basically involved in with the sending emails, but POP3 protocol is basically involved in the receiving emails, which receives and hold emails for an individual until they pick it up. Okay, so you know that there is a mailbox. Suppose I send a mail to a particular person, but right now that person is not online. Okay, so I send the mail, so my mail is sent through the SMTP protocol, but what happened, that mail reaches to the mailbox, right? So mailbox receives that email. So for receiving the email, the post office protocol, that is POP3 protocol, is used. SMTP has a disadvantage that if the destination computer is not online, mails cannot be received. So the SMTP server receives the mail on behalf of every host, and the respective host then interact with the SMTP server to receive the message by using a client server protocol called as the POP3. Okay, so one point is over here is that SMTP has a disadvantage that if the destination computer is not online, suppose the person whom I want to send the data is not online, so mails cannot be received. So obviously if that person is not online, so mail cannot be received. So the SMTP server receives the mail on behalf of every host. Okay, so the SMTP sends the mail, okay, but it also receives the mail on behalf of the host, right? And when the host interact because host want that mail also, so from the host side, POP3 protocol is used to receive the mails from the SMTP, right? So SMTP basically sends the email, right? And in case if the person to whom the mail is to be sent is not online, then in that case the SMTP receive the email on that person behalf, right? And when the person is online, then the POP3 protocol of that person will receive the email from the SMTP. Okay, so if simple is that, if the suppose if we talk about a simple, like we send a letter to someone, okay, and in that letter we write the address and our address also, okay. In the letter cover we will write the address of the person to whom we want to send the letter, and also we write the address of our own. Why? Because if that the person is not available at that time, then what will happen? The post office will keep the letter with him, right? So similarly is the case with the SMTP. SMTP will send the email, because SMTP is basically used to for sending the emails, right? So if the person is online, then the SMTP straight away send the mail to that person. But suppose if that person is not online, then SMTP, in spite of sending the mail to that person, save that mail on that behalf, on the behalf of that person. And once the person is active, then the POP3 protocol of that person's email receives the email from the SMTP. Okay. Then we have one more, that is a remote access protocol. And remote access protocol we have to learn about the telnet. Now what is the basic purpose of the telnet? Telnet is basically used to access the computer which is present somewhere else. Okay, so suppose, for let me give an example, that one of my student is making a project, right, and he is stuck somewhere because he is getting many errors in his source code or in his program, and he is unable to solve that. He called me and told me, sir, that I am unable to solve the problems which are coming in my project, so can you please help me? Okay, I told him, okay, do one thing, there is a software named as Telnet, just download that software in your computer. So obviously he downloaded the Telnet software in his computer, and once he downloaded the Telnet software in his computer, then I will access my student computer with the help of this Telnet software from my house also. Okay, I don't have to come to his house. I simply use the Telnet software to access his computer from remote location. Okay, so I'm not currently at the address of the student. No, I'm not currently at his location. I'm present at some other location, but with the help of this Telnet software, I can access his system, and after accessing his system, I can check his source code and what are the corrections I have to do. I can make all those corrections over here also. Okay, so this is the benefit of the remote access software. So Telnet is the main internet protocol for creating a connection with a remote machine. Okay, so this, it means that with the help of the Telnet software we can access the computer which is not present with us, that the system which is present somewhere else, we can access that computer also. It allows you to connect to remote computers over a TCP IP network. Once your Telnet client establish a connection to the remote host, and it means once the connection between you and your the other system is established with the help of this Telnet, then your client becomes a virtual terminal, allowing you to communicate with the remote host from your computer with whatever privileges you may have been granted to the specific application and data on that host computer. Okay, so once I get the access of that computer which is present somewhere else, so after getting the access, I can do any type of work in that computer. Okay, I can access, open any file, anything, because the virtual terminal of the host that remote computer opens in my system. Okay, so with the help of that virtual terminal, I can simply access the system of that person. So this is the benefit of the remote access protocol. Last one is the chat protocol under the VoIP. As you know that chatting is simple sending the textual data of one person to another person, and that is an online process. So chatting is a real-time informal communication over the internet. Okay, a chat program is basically a software which is required for chatting over the internet. ठीक है. AOL Instant Messenger, Campfire Internet Messenger, MSN Messenger, these are some examples of the chat programs. Okay, and the most important thing is that you have to understand that there is a protocol that is called as the Internet Relay Chat, that is IRC. So IRC protocol is basically used for chatting. Okay, if a question asks to you that which protocol is used for chatting, so you simply say that IRC, that is Internet Relay Chat, is a protocol that is used for the chatting. Okay, it provides chatting between a group or between two individuals. Okay, so the protocol which is used for chatting is IRC. Now the next one is the VoIP. VoIP means voice over internet protocol. So as it is given over here also, that VoIP is basically stands for the voice over internet protocol. Okay, so what is this VoIP over internet protocol? It means nowadays you know that we can also use the internet for calling purpose. Okay, suppose you are using a WhatsApp. Okay, suppose one of your friend is in Australia and you want to talk to him, so you can also use this WhatsApp to make a call to him, and also if you want, if you can also do the video calling with that person also. Okay, so by using this simple internet, we can send our voice data also. So VoIP protocol is basically is used for sending the voice data through the internet. Okay, so it enables the transfer of voice using packet switched networks rather than the using public switched network, telephone network. So obviously whatever voice data you send, that voice data is divided into packets, and these packet reaches to the destination over the destination system. These packet reassembles, and the original sound data is basically listened by the user. Whatever be the original message, that the user get that original message. Okay, by using the VoIP software, phone calls can be done using standard internet connection. Okay, with the help of this VoIP software, you can simply use the internet for calling purpose like WhatsApp, and there are many more applications also. So this method of making phone calls is much cheaper. Obviously this is much cheaper. Okay, and conventional way, because the service of telecommunication companies not be used. So we are not using any telecommunication company, we are using the internet connection for performing our communication. Okay, so let's stop it right now. So today we have covered all the protocols that we have to discuss. So I hope that you understand all the protocols. So thank you very much and have a nice day.